What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today is a super exciting day. We are here almost at the end of the year. It is just a few days before New Year's Eve, going from 2015 into 2016, which means it's time to discuss the entire year in gaming that was 2015. So I was very excited to put together my own list of my 10 favorite games of the year. It was incredibly difficult. There were a lot of great games I didn't get to play. There were a lot of great games I couldn't include on this list because it could only be 10 games long. Very unique year in the sense that Nintendo really didn't have a super strong year, and I always love including as many Nintendo games as I can because I still think they make the best games. And although there were a couple of awesome titles they made that almost made the cut, there were a few probably controversial ones that you might not see on this list. But again, across the board, it was really difficult because there were so many great games for all platforms that I wanted to include, and I simply couldn't because there were just too many great games to pick from. That is not the worst problem to have. Now, what I do have to do when I pull up my list here, I want to go over really quickly a couple of the games that I didn't get to play that would probably otherwise have made a list like this. I know it becomes very controversial to make a list of the 10 best games of any given year or anything, and I'm only one guy, I'm only one gamer, so I don't get to play everything. So a couple of games that would have potentially made this list had I had the chance to play them, and games that I also really did want to play and couldn't get to. Tomb Raider was a huge one. Metal Gear Solid 5, not the hugest fan, but I still was curious, didn't get to play it. Call of Duty Black Ops 3, The Elder Scrolls Online, the Tamriel Unlimited Edition, whatever that's called. I love Elder Scrolls, so I did want to try that, didn't get to. Witcher 3, of course, controversial because I played the first couple of hours and then gave up, so I'm still considering that a game that I didn't play. And I will, of course, go back and officially play the full game pretty soon here. Fast Racing Neo, Transformers Devastation, two other games that I really was hoping to get in before the end of the year, and I just haven't had the time, nor the gaming space. I'm just playing too many other games, plus I'm really busy. It's the holidays, I've been traveling, I've been seeing Star Wars, been working like crazy, just been too busy to play everything under the sun, you know, sometimes you gotta be an adult. So that's a short list of some games that I would have liked to have been able to play and potentially include on this list, but I didn't try them. So moving on from that, I'm going to do my best to not make this the longest video in the world, and we're going to get started with number 10. Okay, and coming in at number 10 is Mortal Kombat X, because it's Mortal Kombat and it's freaking awesome. A lot of controversy with this game because the inclusion of microtransactions and like the easy fatalities and, you know, lots of downloadable purchasable characters and things like that. I get the controversy. I think the microtransactions are lame. I think that easy fatalities are the dumbest thing in the world. But if you remove that aspect, the completed full release $60 game that came out on day one is amazing. You know, I'm an old school Mortal Kombat guy, so I may swing more towards the favor of Mortal Kombat, but I have no problem admitting that. That's why I love Mortal Kombat. This is one of the best in a long time. I thought this was better than the last few. You know, they got really deep with the fighting mechanics. There's so many characters to pick from. They're all vastly different. Each one has its own set of like 3 different fighting styles that changes some of the special moves and the way some of the combos are put together. I believe the fatalities are universal amongst all of those, but I don't know. It's a gorgeous game. It feels great. It's a little bit faster than I think Mortal Kombat 9 was. It's been a while since I played that, so I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this one just felt like a more complex fighting game while still feeling traditionally Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat does have that unique, very purposeful flow to the game. Again, the microtransactions thing, that's such a tough beast to discuss because I hate that stuff and I don't think it belongs in a game like Mortal Kombat, but you know, it's all optional and it didn't hinder my experience, so I can't really use it as too much of a negative. When I look at it as just a fighting game, just a Mortal Kombat game, you know, the first Mortal Kombat of this 8th generation, it's awesome. I love the game. Like, I've even started playing it again recently, and my girlfriend and I have been going through it. It's a super fun game. Mortal Kombat X, they did a fantastic thing. Other than the shitty microtransactions, they made a kick-ass game, so I love Mortal Kombat X. It's my 10th favorite game of 2015. Coming in at number 9 is one that might also be kind of controversial, but man, did I love this game, and that is Until Dawn for the PlayStation 4. Very unique title. Yes, it's kind of borrowing some of the ideas in the cinematic presentation of Quantic Dream's best games, you know, stuff like Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, which is a big one. It's trying to do that, but I think it does it a little bit better. And the fact that it's doing it in a horror movie setting, and in a horror movie setting that is really borrowing from and paying homage to the tropes of the 80s and 90s horror teenage slasher film kind of thing, and it does it so well, to me, that makes it way, way better than those other games. I tried Heavy Rain. I just couldn't do it, man. I really tried. Until Dawn is unique in that, to me, it felt a little bit more interactive than those other games did. It really feels like you're actually playing a game. Once you get over the initial beginning and the way some of the first movies kind of set you up into the story and the characters, all of a sudden you realize, well, I really am playing a game more than watching a movie, but it really feels like a game that's playing out a film. And it's really unique. And there's some genuinely scary jump out moments, and I played this, with my girlfriend all the way through. We almost treated it like a movie, and we'd have to come back, we'd have to come back to the different chapters from when we previously left off and following these characters, and got super invested in the characters. The characters are really well written. Even the ones you don't like are extremely well written because you're kind of supposed to not like them. And the fact that the game succeeds in making you not enjoy these characters is a big deal. And it makes them feel very real, very fleshed out. You totally care about the ones that you like surviving, and you will try your damnedest to make sure. I didn't get everyone I wanted to survive, but I was so into wanting to say the right thing or make the right decision or go down the wrong path, or the right path, I should say, so that I didn't, this person that I like wouldn't die. And, hey, if that person that I don't like gets, sacrificed so that the person I like lives, that's totally okay with me. And the game really makes you feel that. The animations are not great, but other than that, the game looks fantastic. All the acting by a lot of well-known actors, really solid, fantastic, wonderful experience Until Dawn. It's kind of one of those games that doesn't feel as replayable as I think people might want it to be, because of course, different choices means you get different endings and different people survive. But to me, because it's so cinematic, it's hard for me to go back and play a game like that. But when I look at it as the initial first experience, it was awesome. One of the most unique games and engrossing games I've played. A fantastic horror game for 2015 and my 9th favorite game of the year. Okay, coming in at number 8 is another horror game for 2015, which is pretty exciting, and that is Fatal Frame 5. And I didn't pull up the Curse of the Black-Haired Shrine Maiden full title. I didn't even pull that up, actually. I can't remember what that's called. But Fatal Frame 5 for the Wii U, downloadable only, and man, this game seriously kicks ass. I even did a podcast with Terminator Juice where we spent a lot of time talking about it. He also really enjoyed the game. Of course, we know it wasn't given a physical release, and a lot of people were upset about that. My stance was, even though it sucks that we didn't get a physical release, I'm just glad that it did come out and we did have a chance to play it, and it was localized in English. And it's a really, really excellent game. The use of the gamepad is one of the best uses yet. That game feels next generation because the control is so unique and so immersive for that game. The character models are gorgeous. It's a very, very pretty game. The ambience and the mood is fantastic. Terminator Juice brought up that the game feels very reminiscent of like some of the older Resident Evil games, and I totally agree with that. Even though Fatal Frame has been around for a while, and I haven't played any of the other games until this one, so I don't know if the other games really felt like Resident Evil as much, but just speaking about Fatal Frame 5, it did feel that way in the best way possible. It was borrowing the best elements, the setting, the ambience, traversing through the jungle, putting together the clues and the mysteries of who went missing and why, and who went to the Suicide Mountain and why did they go there, and can we follow their ghosts, and combating with the camera obscura. It was so cool, man. There's so much lore in there, and there's so much story that's very, very interesting. Great characters, amazing, unique combat. It's not perfect. The controls definitely take some getting used to. They require patience and a rhythm for you to learn, so it is not for everybody. That's the very, very unique thing about Fatal Frame 5. It's hard to say that it's hard for me to recommend it to everybody, even though I loved it to death and I'm including it at number 8 on my list. I can't say everyone go out and play it and buy it. You should try the 2-chapter demo that they give you to download, but know that it's only a small taste of how that game plays and looks and feels. The game opens up crazy huge once you finish those if you actually buy the full game after that. So I encourage everyone to try the demo if you haven't. It's not for everybody, but I'm telling you, it's a really, really fantastic game. So I'm so glad that there were a couple of kick-ass horror games for 2015 that I could include, because I love horror games. Last year, I think we had like The Evil Within, and that might have been it for big console horror games. I'm not quite sure. But this year, Until Dawn and Fatal Frame 5 here at number 8 is a pretty big deal. So it was a great year for horror, and Fatal Frame 5 is freaking awesome. Coming in at number 7 is a game that I could have included much higher on this list, but the other games I ended up just enjoying so much, it was very hard for me to do so, and that is Halo 5 Guardians. I am a huge Halo fan. I think Halo 4 was probably the best game they made, so here we are with 343 coming right off of their success with Halo 4. We know the Halo Master Chief Collection came out last year and had a lot of issues. I've really enjoyed Master Chief, but I haven't really played it online, and I think that's why. I appreciate what 343 has been doing with the Halo kind of universe, and Halo 5 Guardians was almost a perfect game. The campaign is unique because they kind of tried to do what they did with Halo 2, and they brought in this other character, Locke, who I think is from the Halo Nightfall story, and he's a great character. I really like Locke, but they brought him in to the point where he's treated like the Arbiter, where you're switching between Master Chief and Locke. I was really hoping they wouldn't do that for this game, and they did. And even more so, I think you play that game more often as Locke than you do as Master Chief. And I was like, God damn it, that's like not what I want to do. Like, I would rather play as Master Chief. He's my guy. I want to play as Master Chief. But that's okay. You know, what was there was still fantastic. And even when you're playing as Locke, the campaign is awesome. Amazing vistas. You go to so many cool locations. The story is fantastic. It's building off of what happened in Halo 4, where, you know, we saw Master Chief's relationship with Cortana grow exponentially. And we saw she kind of disappeared near the end of that game, and it was really sad. And whether or not she comes back or not, I'm not going to discuss. But how they continue that story thread for Master Chief in this game is really brilliant. A problem I have is that there were a lot of plot threads in the game, and the very ending of the game didn't wrap up any of those, and I think that that's kind of BS. I didn't love that. Like, they were all really good, you know, bait-and-switch cliffhanger endings, for sure, but the fact that not one single story happening in that game felt like it came to a resolution kind of was really shitty. That really sucked. It was like, damn it, man. Like, I wanted to at least feel like something got finished, and none of that happened. They completely set up Halo 6, which I'm excited for, but it's too bad they didn't finish the stories in this game. That aside, I still so enjoyed the campaign. I love the story. I love the locations. I love the combat. The visuals were fantastic. The online was so good, vastly improved over Halo 4. I think Halo 4 is the best campaign I've played. Halo 5 might be the best or second best online multiplayer I've ever played in a Halo game. They absolutely killed it with this game. So, you know, huge Halo fan speaking here. Halo 5 Guardians was so fantastic. There were some issues with the story and the presentation and the endings, but none of that stuff hindered the game. I think it was fantastic. Halo 5 totally rocks. Number 6 is a super exciting game. That is Splatoon on the Wii U. What a crazy splash this game made on the gaming industry this year, and deservedly so. Splatoon is super fantastic. It really has changed the multiplayer combat feeling. It's changed the arena in which we look at third-person shooters and first-person shooters and just overall competitive shooting games. This unique inking sort of, you're spreading paint and ink all over the map, and you're trying to cover, you know, different parts of the territory, and you can turn into an or a squid, and like swim through the ink, and you work with your fellow teammates, and you're using the map on the gamepad to warp around. It's so much fun. Now, my issues with Splatoon that made it so that I didn't make it so high are kind of the limitations in how the maps roll out. I don't like that they have this system where there's only 2 maps available for either of the only 2 game modes that are available at any one time, and those are the only 2 maps available for that mode for 4 hours until they cycle into new ones. And at this point, they've released so many maps for this game, it's like, don't do that. Like, every match is only like 3 or 5 minutes long. I mean, sometimes when you only have 2 maps that are going to be available for any 4 hours, sometimes you'll play the same map 3 or 4 times in a row. And that's happened to me so many times that there's been so many periods where I haven't been able to play that game for more than 10 or 15 minutes because it's like I'm not going to keep playing the same damn map. I want to change maps, you know? And that's been a huge, huge, huge problem for me with Splatoon. Now, other than that, there is a crazy amount of content. We all know about the free updates, the free downloads, the free weapons and maps and gear that they're rolling out. I mean, the content update, all for free, has been spectacular. It's game-changing for the industry what Nintendo has done with this game. So for that reason alone, it earns a very high spot on this list, let alone the amazing visuals and the amazing, unique, fresh-feeling combat. So much you can do to customize your Inkling and interact with other people. It's wonderful. I hate that you only get 2 maps at a time for 4 hours. That is such a huge problem for me still. I thought that once they released a bunch of maps that they would get rid of that, or at least make it 4 maps every 4 hours, and then it would switch to another 4. But no, it's only 2 maps. And I'm not going to play the same map 3 or 5 times in a row, you guys. That's just not fun for me. So that's the only huge issue I have with Splatoon. That may still change. That's the kind of thing where the way they've been updating and changing the rules of the game, Maybe that's something that does change soon with the future patch or rollout, so we'll have to see. But disregarding that one problem, still, Splatoon is so fantastic. You've probably played it. You've heard how great it is. The soundtrack is so amazing. I can't say enough good things about Splatoon other than my one issue, so absolutely Splatoon deserves a spot on this list at number 6. Splatoon kicks ass. Okay, at number 5 is a game that I think will be pretty controversial at this spot on the list, Xenoblade Chronicles X. So this is a very, very tricky one to me, because Xenoblade Chronicles X is the sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii, which I think is perfect. Xenoblade Chronicles, the original Wii game, is so good, I don't even have enough adjectives to describe that game. So the amazing and better looking sequel for the Wii U that was doing all these things and online play and crazy gamepad support and huge vast worlds again, just like the first game. Oh my gosh, so excited. The game's now been out for a couple of weeks. It's amazing. The game is so very good. That is why it is on this list at number 5. It's the kind of game that is a better made game than almost any game on this list, except for maybe my number 1 and or 2. It is a better made, better created, better put together package. And from the practical development stage of just making a game, it might even be the best on this list. It is so fantastic what they've done with it. The one thing is it's not quite as fun as some of the other games on this list. That's the thing that's been sort of surprising me about Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm not going to sit here and say a bunch of bad things about this game that I'm including in number 5. I will say there's something about it where it just doesn't feel as good as the original game. The flow of the game, the story, the pacing, the way you're exploring the world, it's a little bit more generic and just pick missions and go, as opposed to following the story in these vast worlds and kind of getting involved with side quests. It's almost entirely side quests, and then you can sort of just pick and choose and find the story missions going through it. And there are games where that works. For Xenoblade, I wasn't really expecting or necessarily wanting that because the first game didn't do that. It felt more like a Zelda or a Final Fantasy game where it's the story that's driving you and you're just picking up other quests as you go. This is, you're picking up quests as you go and you may find the story to continue as you pull through it. And, well, it works, but it's not quite as amazing as I was hoping. So that's my one kind of negative thing on Xenoblade. Other than that, it's amazing. It is still an incredibly fun game. The combat system is still improved over the first game. I will give it that. The fact that you can switch between both a rifle, automatic, distance weapon, and then also an up-close melee weapon of different kinds for your different party members and for yourself, adds a huge amount of depth to the combat, much more so than the first game had. They've improved the art system. They've given the art system 2 different levels of cooldowns, which means you can get different aspects of power and results out of the arts and the combat that you're using against different enemies. The game is beautiful. It's stupid how good it looks. The worlds are fantastic. You're going to all these different continents on this planet, on the planet Mira, I think it's called. And it looks like, I was telling this to my girlfriend yesterday, it looks like Avatar. It looks like Pandora from the movie Avatar, which is gorgeous. It's so cool. The enemies and the monsters, I can't even get over how huge some of them are, much bigger than the first games, and they just look so great. They have the new Los Angeles sort of hub that you're in, there's all these different districts, and there's so many people to run into and so many things to do within it. The game is damn near overwhelming, honestly. There's so much to do, and I haven't even gotten to the point where I get my Skell, which is the big mech that becomes like a mech combat thing that you can use. Maybe if I had gotten that far into the game, it would change the placing and I would, raise or lower it accordingly. But I just haven't gotten that far. I think I'm pretty close to being able to buy one. And as far as I can tell, you just have to buy one to have one. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm hoping to get the Skell pretty soon. The game is phenomenal. I was hoping to be able to include it at number 3, 2, or 1, and I almost did for a period. But the more I've been playing it, and even though I'm getting more into it and liking it more, I'm still realizing, as great as it is, it's just not quite as fun as some of these other games I'm going to talk about. And at the end of the day, I do have to consider fun factor, first and foremost. Again, from a game creation standpoint, Xenoblade Chronicles X is the cream of the crop. It's the tippy top of a very tall mountain. AAA of the highest acclaim. It is so fantastic what they have done. It's such a complex game. But it's almost arguably too complex, maybe for me, so the fact that there's all these side missions, it's just like, I kind of just want to also get involved with the story. And I want it to be easier for me to explore and find new places, and you have to really take your time. It requires crazy amounts of patience. And I have this patience, but it's so much patience that I think I didn't feel good including it higher on this list than number 5. So, still a wonderful game. Every gamer on planet Earth needs to buy and pick up and play this game. It is that good. So here it sits right smack dab in the middle at my number 5 game of 2015 so far. All right, number 4 really is going to be controversial, as a few of them have already been, and I just don't care because I love this game, Star Wars Battlefront. Holy crap. They have done an amazing thing with Star Wars Battlefront. They've done a couple of curious things with Star Wars Battlefront 2, for sure, but, you know, I'm a Star Wars guy. It's my favorite thing in the world, you guys, and what they've done with Battlefront as far as making it look, feel, and sound and play like Star Wars is amazing. Now, what they haven't done is make a game that's as good or better than the previous Battlefront games. And I think that that's a shame because Battlefronts 1 and 2 were so fantastic. They were this great mishmash of all the different worlds, you know, from both the original and the prequel trilogy, some expanded universe content. You're all over the place, so many characters and locations. Basically, everything went. There was no holds barred in those first 2 games. And that was wonderful. With this game, they're trying to make it canon with the film universe, which is totally stupid. And, of course, they wanted to build on the hype of, you know, the new sequel trilogy starting, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It's a sequel to Return of the Jedi. So the whole game is meant to emulate only the original trilogy. And that's fine. They've done an amazing job emulating the best trilogy in film history. So that is totally okay. But I still like the older stuff where you have all the different characters and universes all kind of pushed together in the same game, and it's too bad they didn't do that here. But what they did do is make the best looking game I've ever seen. It just feels like Star Wars. I've said this before. It's like it fills the essence of Star Wars in the room you're in as you're playing this game. And even though there are some issues with that, and some people may argue the amount of content available and the really shitty season pass that's going to start soon, for me, I don't care. I will tell you guys right now, my immense Star Wars fanship is a huge reason why I'm including this game so high on this list. And that's okay. If I remove my fanship, it's still an amazing looking game. It's an amazing playing game. There's a ton of modes to pick from. You can do some stuff offline or with local and online co-op, or you can go online and do the big, huge battles. They've done a great job with that stuff. I will say that were they to make this game like the other Battlefronts, if they made this the Battlefront 3 we were promised years ago, it could be number 2 or 1 on this list. I would put it higher than number 4. But they didn't do that. They made it the Battlefront it is, which is still an amazing game, emulating this wonderful original Star Wars trilogy that we all know and love. It got me so excited for Episode 7, The Force Awakens, even well before I saw it. I mean, it's just a kick-ass Star Wars game, and we've needed a good Star Wars game for far too long. We got so hosed last generation with Star Wars games, and I'm still mad about it. So this game coming out and being as good as it was totally worked for me. My Star Wars fanship may be getting in the way a little bit, but oh well, it's my list, and that's why I put it here at number 4. Star Wars Battlefront is so freaking good. I definitely want to hear you guys talk about it if you do like it or if you didn't. So share that stuff, but for me, it's great. So Star Wars Battlefront, number 4 game of the year. All right, closing in at the very top of this list, number 3, very unique title that I hope that more people talk about, Ori and the Blind Forest, which is an Xbox One and PC exclusive. I downloaded it on my Xbox One and played through it. Amazing 2D hand-drawn art Metroid-esque platformer game. And the Metroid-heavy kind of emphasis is a very huge reason as to why I love this game so much. Because, again, it is all 2D side-scroller. It feels like a game from 15 years ago. It looks beautiful, stupidly pretty game. And it very much does play like a Metroid game, where you have this huge map to explore, and you can go anywhere, but you'll run into barriers, and you have to upgrade your character and your combat or your items, and just change, you know, just be upgraded, and then that gives you access to newer parts of the world, and you can all of a sudden, your new abilities allow you to do new things and go new places that you couldn't before. And that's very much like the old Metroid stuff, and you know me and Metroid, so once you make a game that's sort of emulating that, I'm really going to love and appreciate it. And I also love 2D games. I love platforming games. This game is just a wonderful mix of some of my favorite things gaming can do. And again, being so beautiful and using that hand-drawn art style. My only regret is that it wasn't a physical release. You know, it's only a downloadable game, and that sucks. I would love a game case that is for Ori and the Blind Forest, because I'd like to own that game forever. But it's still just a wonderful game, you know. A lot of people may have heard about it, you know, announced last year at E3. People kind of forgot about it, though. It sort of dropped off the radar. It's amazing. The game is damn near a 10 out of 10. I really implore everyone to play it. Ori and the Blind Forest is so fantastic, and it sits here all the way up at number 3. Okay, number 2 is a game that going into the beginning of the year, I could have maybe expected to potentially be number one, but it couldn't quite take that number one spot. And so this was where I really was driving myself crazy trying to determine what's going to be number two, what's going to be number one, how are my games going to play out on this list, and ultimately I had to settle with Fallout 4 at number two. So I love Fallout. You've heard me talk about that. Fallout 3 just absolutely encapsulated so much of my free time, and so did New Vegas. I mean, those two games were so fantastic. I do enjoy the older Fallout games as well, the isometric ones. I did play those. But 3 and New Vegas were great because they took it into the newer generations. They took it into the realm of 3D, huge open world, so much to do. It makes you feel like you're really stuck in this wasteland. And Fallout 4 is the exact same, only better. I mean, they really have done a great job making you feel like you're in a post-apocalyptic world. And I'm sorry, like the post-apocalyptic stuff, some people may say it's kind of worn out, but not for me, man. I still love it. I love any TV show or movie or video game that's using this setting. It's so interesting to me still. Fallout 4 is unique in that we actually got a short glimpse of life before the bombs went off, before you get stuck in the shelter and have to kind of grow up and find out who you are. And then there's this murder mystery that kind of kicks off your whole adventure. And, the world is beautiful. Yes, it's full of some bugs and glitches, and we all know the whole story with Bethesda, but you know what? It's the least amount of bugs and glitches I've seen, and we know they're going to patch it for free down the road, so it hasn't hindered my experience at all. The world there's so much to do in this world. It might almost be a negative thing because there's so much to do in this huge map that they've provided us that there's not a lot of space between one area or one settlement or one town and the next. And so you don't have a lot of wandering the wasteland. And for some people, that might be good. On paper, it doesn't sound fun to just wander the wasteland for 10 minutes between one town and another town. But I actually liked that. In those other games, they actually still found little small, tiny things for you to run into on your long journeys between areas. And in Fallout 4, they have that, but it's so compact and compressed, and there's so much stuff everywhere. It's just like, you can almost feel claustrophobic, but it's still ultimately a good thing because the game is jam-packed full with content. The map is huge and gorgeous, and I mean, I can just say the same things over and over again. It's Fallout. It does all the things a Fallout game is supposed to do. They added the settlement system. They added the modding, which I haven't really touched. The modding on console, I should say, they added, and I haven't touched that stuff. It's not for me. But what they've done is just amazing. Long story short, they made a great Fallout game. They made the perfect kind of Fallout game for a 2015, an 8th generation console cycle. This is the Fallout we've been looking for. Thank you, Bethesda, for doing what you're doing. I hope that Elder Scrolls 6 isn't another 4 or 5 years down the road, but it probably is. They took their sweet time with Fallout 4, but it paid off in spades. I absolutely love this game. It was almost my favorite game of the year, but instead here it sits at number 2. Okay, so here we are at number 1, and you probably know what this game is going to be. I haven't shut up about this game since it came out earlier in the year, and when I really sat down to put this list together and determine what is my absolute favorite game of the year, it wasn't much of a question. It's Bloodborne on the PlayStation 4. Bloodborne is from Software, the guys who made Dark Souls. This is their culmination. Everything I think Dark Souls was building to was Bloodborne. And I can't believe how good this game is. I was so just caught up in this game when it first came out. I couldn't stop playing it. Once I finally got good at it. First couple of days, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh my God, I can't play this game. I suck at this. I'm not doing anything. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not making any progress in this game. And eventually, I kind of figured out exactly what the game wanted of me and exactly how you're supposed to progress through it and deal with the combat and level your guy up and do this whole thing. And once I got into the rhythm of the game, it's like, oh, this is how we do it. And then I was hooked. I was gone, man. Just consider me bye-bye, because all I was doing was playing Bloodborne and talking about Bloodborne and thinking about Bloodborne and dreaming about Bloodborne. And it's still that way. I've taken huge gaps in my playtime now since, but I've come back a couple of times, even very recently in the last couple of weeks, put it in again randomly. And every time it comes back in, all of a sudden I'm sucked back in and I could play this game forever. And this is all before even playing the recent DLC that came out, the Old Hunters, which apparently is phenomenal. I haven't even played that yet. And still, just the bare bones basic Bloodborne game that came out in like March or April, I think it was April, is still perfect. It is a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. This game, it is incredibly deep with its combat. It's incredibly deep with its lore and how you can play through this game, and there's so much to do and so many secrets to uncover. It's a beautiful, dark, gothic-looking, neo-Victorian sort of setting. It's so fantastic. You've all heard about it. Everyone's heard about Bloodborne. Some people don't like it, some people do. Similar to a game like Fatal Frame, it's not a game for everyone. So it's another one of those things where I can't tell everyone in the world to go out and play it. I do think it reaches more gamers than probably a game like Fatal Frame 5 in that respect. But it is so very hard. You have to be familiar with how From Software makes their games, what they want out of you, the player, when diving into the combat, and you have to be willing to have the patience to get good and die for the first day or two before you're like, oh, okay. Once you get it, you'll get it, and you will love this game. It's tied with my favorite game of the entire generation right now. It might even be. It's probably a top 10 all time. I could sing the praises of Bloodborne till I'm blue in the face. It's such an amazing game, you guys. And I know it's not a shock or a surprise to see this as my favorite game of the year, but what can I say? It is that good. And when a game's that good, I have to give it its due respect and credit. And Bloodborne, not only my favorite game this year, maybe my favorite game of the generation so far. Bloodborne is a masterpiece, #1 game of 2015 for me. And there you have it, my 10 favorite games of 2015. That was a really hard list to put together. Quick recap: Mortal Kombat X, Until Dawn, Fatal Frame 5, Halo 5, Splatoon, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Star Wars Battlefront, Ori and the Blind Forest, Fallout 4, and Bloodborne. So those are my 10 favorite games. Now, you heard a list of the games I didn't get to play that I couldn't include on this list. So if you're whining and yelling and screaming, oh my god, how can Witcher not be #1? How can Metal Gear not be #1? I didn't fucking play them, so that's why they're not #1. If you played those games, they can be your #1, or they can be on your list. Not everyone plays every game, and I'm the same way. So, a great year for gaming, you guys. I mean, so many good games. A couple of super fast honorable mentions. Mario Maker, Resident Evil Revelations 2, Yoshi's Woolly World, Batman Arkham Knight, Axiom Verge. Quick list of just a handful of excellent games that I considered when putting this list together, but couldn't ultimately do it. And there's even more to pick from that I still didn't even put on this list. So 2015 surprisingly was very good, even though it was a slow year from Nintendo, which is very sad for me because of how much I love Nintendo. Oh, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse earlier this year is another honorable mention. Really good game. Even though it was a slow year for Nintendo, they still had a couple games on this list. Everyone knocked it out of the park. The first parties, the third parties, the multiplayer stuff. Just so great. We had the return of a Star Wars game. From Software knocked it out of the park. Fallout 4 came back. Halo came back. I mean, really, really cool stuff. So I'm very happy with 2015 overall. I'm very excited for what's happening with 2016. And speaking of 2016, my very next video will be my top 10 most anticipated games coming up for next year. So hopefully you're going to be excited for that and look for that coming in the next few days as well. But this was a lot of fun to do, you guys. I love doing the lists. I love discussing this previous year. I love it when a list is hard to put together. That's what you want. It's the best problem to have. Too many great games to pick from. Where do I place them? Who knows? You got to kind of figure it out as you go along. So this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. Share your thoughts about my list, my 10 games, if you like them, if you think I'm a total asshole for including them the way that I did. Share your favorite games of the year so far as well. And I'll catch you guys next time on my top 10 most anticipated games for 2016.